The following is a video presentation of a morning worship service at Orrville Baptist Church.
Remember Jesus Christ, risen from the dead, descendant of David, according to my gospel, for which I suffered hardship, even to imprisonment as a criminal, but the word of God is not in prison. For this reason I endure all things for the sake of those who are chosen, so that they also may obtain the salvation which is in Christ Jesus, and with it eternal glory. It is a trustworthy statement, for if we die with him, we will also live with him. If we endure, we will also reign with him. If we deny him, he will also deny us. If we are faithless, he remains faithful, for he cannot deny himself. Very, very strong words for us to remember as we go through our text this morning. We'll come into a lot to play with Acts 16 in our text that we go through this morning and seeing what happens with Paul and Silas. So maybe it's good to remind ourselves of Paul's words there. I want to welcome you this morning, be telling you that I'm very thankful to see you here this morning. I want to start off, so there are some questions about the offering. Basically, what we're going to do is this. If you see a small envelope in the pew in front of you, this is what we'll use for what we're calling the Innovation Repair Fund. We'll keep replenishing those in the pews. There's a regular size one that you can use that for your normal offering, or if you've got your ones that you want to bring home. But if you see a small one in front of you, this is what we will use for our innovation repair. We're basically asking, if you were not with us last week, what we're basically asking is for basically a commitment. Best way I can say it. We're all hoping to pitch in $5 Yes, that is on top of an offering. I understand it's hard for me to be the one to ask for more, but we want to be preparing for the future. And, there's some things we already need to repair, some things we need to renovate. We want to continue to be sacrificial givers who are giving together for this. I will give you a slight update. We haven't even taken this up yet, okay? We haven't even started this yet. I shared some cool things that happened in the past week here at the church. We haven't even started taking up from our congregation yet, and we're already over $1,200 for that fund. Really, really, really neat stuff. So, if you would consider that and joining us in that commitment, just take one of these small envelopes, ask them for $5 a Sunday. I'll remind you, someone had asked me after the service last week, they said, well, if I give 20, can I just do that for the month? I said, well, of course. If you want to do $1, we're happy. I want you to give in a way that makes you happy and makes you worship. This is not for me and just for each other. It's physical things here at church, but I want you to give in a way that allows you to worship and brings you joy. So we thought $5 was a good starting place, and I want to be legalistic about this. So just keep that in mind. So when you come in, if you want to take an extra one home, there's one in front of you that you want to have for next week, that's fine. I'll continue to replenish the pews with these, but from this point on, these small envelopes, if this gets put in the offering plate, we will know this is going specifically to that repair and renovation fund. So just want to put that out at you and continue to pray for how we can give and things we can do for our church. I'm going to be pretty light on announcements. Consider coming back here tonight. We'd love to have you. We've had a really good walk. We kind of been just series lately. I don't really call them that. But we obviously been going through Acts for a while. We'll continue to. And then the past 2 Sunday nights, we've started looking in Revelation 2, just looking at the specific profiles of these 7 churches. And so we've done 2 of those already, and we'll continue that tonight on our 3rd church, Pergamum. So I've been really excited for our church to walk through these together. We will continue that tonight. If you'd like to join us, we'd love to see you there. And then on Wednesday nights, we have started to close out the last chapter on the Sermon on the Mount. Still a lot of material left to go in that message, in that series. So consider joining us on Wednesdays at 6:30 over in the Hayes Building. We'd love to see you there. It's been a very, very fruitful study for us to go through the Sermon on the Mount together. A very humbling study. And we'd love to see you there. I do want to remind you for next Sunday, I'm going to talk about this a little bit at the end of the service today as well, so I won't spend much at this specific moment. Next Sunday, as far as our AM service, we're meeting in here at 10:30. So it's just a one-off. 10:30, no Sunday school next week. The way I can't remember exactly how I worded it. The way I'll try to word it again is, if you're caring about this church, if you care about this church, if you care about the future of Orrville Baptist Church, if you love this church, be here next Sunday. And honestly, help get the word out too, as I'm trying to do. If you're someone who has not been here in a couple of Sundays, they need to be here on Sunday. It's that important. And so I just want to encourage you, please make every attempt to join us next Sunday in here at 10:30 for a very, very different service. I'll go ahead and tell you, it's not going to be the standard preaching, not a standard message, so to speak, or sermon, but we'll be very eventful. It's very important for our church and for our church family. So join us next Sunday. I'll have more to say about that a little bit at the end, and we'll go from there. But I do want to close this, talking about this introduction part, our welcome time. I do want to close this, continue to think about the nations, continue to think about the rest of the world. I want to share with you this prayer calendar, and I've been doing this a lot on Wednesdays. I've done it a couple times on Sunday. I want to share with you straight from this prayer calendar. Now, I think I've given the website. If I have not, it is www.opendoorsUSA.org. A wonderful website that lets you think more deeply about the persecuted church across the globe. And I think what happens a lot of times is it's such a reality. We know this happens, but we don't get the specifics. And so it seems very detached for us right here in Ashland, South Carolina. This is a wonderful website. It lets us know and hear stories and shows us some specific ways in which we can pray for the persecuted church across the globe. I would encourage you to visit that site fairly regularly and to see what God is doing across the globe. I want to share with you a way in which we can be praying. Do this throughout the week. Visit the prayer calendar online. But I want to share very specifically this morning about the nation of Algeria. And Open Doors prayer calendar says this: in this Muslim majority nation, Christians are often pushed to the margins of society and judged by different standards than anyone else. Pray for believers in Algeria to look to God for their identity, not in a race, ethnicity, or national origin. And so this morning, as we go to the Lord in prayer and worship Him as He deserves worship and is worthy of that worship, we also want to lift up the nation of Algeria. We want to pray specifically for the people of Algeria that as they struggle with what this means, that they would be pushed to the boundaries of society to be considered outcasts. We want to pray for their boldness, that they would be undeterred in their faith, and if anything, they would be strengthened in their faith because of this persecution. So let's go to the Lord and continue our...
Precious blood.
goal is for, not next Sunday, we'll have our special Sunday, but we got that to start Acts 17. Listen, I love all of Acts. I can't wait to get Acts 17. I'm about to burst thinking that I get to preach on Acts 17, the entirety of the chapter coming up here soon. There's so much in our next chapter that I'm looking forward to. The Bereans and then the sermon at Mars Hill. I think there are two, and again, all of the scriptures are applicable and it never goes out of date, so to speak. It's always relevant. But there's two sections in Acts 17 that I think the church today in modern America is just it benefits so much from seeing. Just relates so strongly. And so I'm really looking forward to our journey through the next chapter. But we got Acts 16 to finish up. And what I want to do this morning is this. If you were with us last week, I didn't really put a title on it, but I was talking a lot about freedom and slavery and what it means to be free from the slavery of sin and bondage to sin and to death through the gospel, through the cross of Christ and the work that He's done for us. And we saw this in two examples. We saw it in Lydia, the first convert in Europe, through the second missionary journey. We also saw it in the slave girl. If you remember last week, if you were here, the first example, Lydia, they arrived in Philippi. This is Paul and Silas and Timothy and Luke. They arrived in Philippi. They make their way to this area, and there's no synagogue. So they go to where these women are gathered, and they're having time of prayer. And so Paul sees an opportunity, preaches the gospel, proclaims Christ, and Lydia, it says, has her heart opened by God for her to respond. And it's just this beautiful moment where there's an actual freedom that takes place. And I love so much that literally the next two verses talk about this new life, and she's already showing fruit. I mean, literally, immediately at her conversion, Lydia is showing fruit of this salvation. It says that she prevailed over Paul and Silas and Timothy and Luke. In other words, she did not take no for an answer. She said, you're coming to my house, I'm going to feed you and take care of you. And it's just this perfect model of hospitality. It's what we call hospitality. And it's really nice to be able to see that kind of an immediate impact that Christ has on someone when He calls them out and when He takes off their chains and when He frees them from this bondage. It's just a beautiful portrait. And then there's this second portrait of this slave girl that as Paul and Silas and Timothy and Luke are traveling, this slave girl is a fortune teller. She kind of starts following them, and she's going everywhere they go, and it's really strange and very odd, but she's actually glorifying God. She's saying something good. This is what she says. These men are bondservants of the Most High God who are proclaiming to you the way of salvation. And she's possessed. She has an evil spirit in her. And yet she says a statement like that. And the point we were making is that, do you see the enemy once again trying to infiltrate? And not just kill from the outside, but trying to infiltrate. And the question is, what would happen to the people in this area when these men left? Make disciples, all that kind of thing. And then when they're gone, there's this person trying to get in on it, really the evil spirit, through this slave girl. And you got a false teacher. Being able to say, yeah, I followed them, and I proclaimed God, and all that kind of stuff, and they're just waiting for the men to leave so that everything could be ruined, and everything could be set in disarray with chaos. And Paul eventually says, enough! Enough! Turns around and says, come out of her right this very moment. And she's free. And we made a very important distinction. She's free in this common grace that is extended to all. The evil spirit leaves her. She's no longer able to be a fortune teller. But it's this physical act only. We're not told about any kind of spiritual sense. There doesn't appear to be any kind of spiritual freedom. It's this common grace. And He does this through all people, does He not? Unbelievers woke up this morning. We made this point before. There's a special grace that we know through the cross, in which we're called out of darkness and into the light, and we're saved. It's this very specific spiritual grace that Christ brings to us and gives to us. There's also this common grace that gives to all. And the point I usually make by that is this. Are not unbelievers walking around today? Are they not breathing in air? Are they not provided for? Of course they are. And so there's this common grace that God chose for all people, a very specific grace that we know in salvation. She receives common grace, and she's freed from this type of physical bondage, this evil spirit that has possessed her body. But she doesn't experience the same type of spiritual freedom that Lydia does. It's not the same thing. She doesn't go through that kind of experience. That's where we left off. Now, this morning we're going to see, I'm telling you up front, you're going to see pretty much the same thing. You're going to see freedom once more. And this is why I want to be a little bit different in how we approach this. Last week, I got very theological in what this looks like, how this happens, that kind of thing. It was very detailed in what this freedom and bondage looks like and sounds like, and how we look at this very in depth. This morning, I want us to go ahead and see that freedom and slavery once more, but from a very practical standpoint. And I want the text to speak for itself. This is a very large narrative in the scriptures here in Acts 16. So just see the implications. See what this looks like. And know that this is still happening today. It might not always be in the same form or fashion. But this same type of thing is happening today. We just need to open our eyes and see this happening all around us. So our goal is to finish up chapter 16, going from verse 19 all the way to verse 40. And so no, I'm not going to stop and do every single piece of text. I want you to look at it in clusters, so to speak. So let's look at verse 19. And let's see the immediate consequences. This is where I left off last week. Now we're going to see the consequences for Paul and Silas after the slave girl was freed from demonic bondage. So starting in verse 19, the Word of God says this. But when her masters saw that their hope of profit was gone, they seized Paul and Silas and dragged them to the marketplace before the authorities. And when they had brought them to the chief magistrates, they said, "These men are throwing our city into confusion, being Jews," that's very derogatory at that moment, "and are proclaiming customs which it is not lawful for us to accept or to observe, being Romans." Now, I'm not truly doing point 1, point 2, point 3 this morning, but I want you to notice the motivation behind what their action is. Look at the motivation for what they're doing. Look at the masters of the slave girl. How is it that they respond? Why are they angry? They don't care about her. They don't care one bit about her well-being. They're just upset they lost their income. That's all. They don't care about a demon being released from her body. The only thing that's on their mind is, hey, we just lost some money. Isn't that sad? To me, that is truly pathetic and sad. Welcome to the world. I'm telling you now, still happening. Might not be demonic possession, this literally, but this is the world today. Here's what I want you to do this morning. I want you to think about the context of where we are here in Anderson. Where we are right here in this portion of Anderson. I have long said we have been placed here for a very specific reason, to minister to the people around us and our neighbors. If you could go on a list, and we could make a list, by the way. We could say, here's some major problems here in this portion, this side of Anderson. We could come up with some. Number one for me is drugs. Yeah, can we agree? Plaguing our area right here. There's other things we can say. Drugs is probably the number one killer around here right now. It's a plague around us, happening left and right. Happening this morning, and it happened later in the night, and every hour in between. What's really sad to me, what kills me, what absolutely kills me, we have neighbors that come to the church office. Okay, they come to the church office for help. Sometimes it's just food with the food pantry. Sometimes it's just, sometimes it's even coffee. Can I have a cup of coffee? Inevitably, I always try to use that bridge, okay? I usually try to use the food, the coffee, or whatever they do, even a blanket or something, as a bridge to talk to them about something spiritual. Not just the physical stuff, but something spiritual. Almost universal. I want to tell you something. The conversation shifts to drug use. And every time, tears become involved. And I'm telling you now, it is the same thing every single time. Their friends betray them. Their suppliers betray them. The people that they trusted the most betray them. Just a world of hurt, week in and week out. And universally, I will say, those people are not your friends. They are not your friends. And they, through the tears, will go, I know. They are used up Week in and week out. Suppliers use them up week in and week out. When someone dies from drug use around here, you know what their supplier says? They don't say, oh, poor soul. They say, man, money lost. There's some money gone. When they have friends that do things to them for the wrong reason, you know what's over? It's over money. It's over money. So much revolves around this area, in this way, called friendship, and it's about money. And we know what the Word says. It's not money is the root of all evil, is it? It's the what? The love of it. You don't even have to have money to have a love of money. And it's constantly going on right here. And this idea is not dead. Not by a long shot that you're seeing in Acts 16. Using people for what you can get, that is not gone. Still happening today. I see it every single day right here by people walking the streets. And it's then the addiction sets in and they can't get out of it. And they'd rather be addicted to a substance than have real friends and have a real family. Still happening today. A very different context. This kind of stuff is far from gone. Far from gone. And having to tell people, these people are not your friends. They say they care about you, they do not. And they will admit, I know. I know. And it's so hard to get out of that culture. You don't have to go through these experiences yourself to know this is true, by the way. We could get into testifying time. I wish we had the time to. Should just call it audible and just do it. We could go into testimony time this morning. I've shared my story. How many of your friends stopped calling when you came to know Christ? How often did that happen? That happens a lot. And I'm telling you right now, it could be decades of friendship. Guess what? They were never your friends. They just like something in you, worldly. That's all it was. It never lasted. It never lasted. This is why Christ talks about with a sword. He comes with truth. It separates. This is exactly what he does. You've all experienced this up to some degree. But look, the point of what's happening here to the slave girl, they just used her for what they could get. There was no love lost. It was just a love for money that angered them. Now, under Roman rule, you could not explicitly worship or practice a new religion that was, not authorized by the empire, by the emperor. And you were still commanded to worship Caesar, by the way. And this is what Paul and Silas are charged with, basically. They're introducing something foreign to Rome. And it's kind of a stretch that their arrest even happened in the first place, by the way. I mean, look at it. It's kind of a stretch that they're even arrested at all. It's just kind of thrown together last second. They're grouped together and arrested. It's kind of silly. Throwing the city into confusion. I mean, really? Making it sound like there's a bunch of chaos that happened. That's not the text. That's what they're charged with. I mean, come on. We want to see this whole thing play out. We want to see the long game of what happens here in Acts 16. Now, this goes back to last week. Look at how God's using the situation, okay? Look what God is doing. Watch and see what God will do with this event. Because in the short term, it's a very silly arrest. It makes no sense. There's not really any kind of solid backing to this arrest. Paul and Silas, they could have ended this thing immediately. You're going to see this at the end of the message. They could have ended this thing. I mean, all they had to say was, hey, we're Roman. Hey, we're Romans. And they would have said, oh, excuse me, and let them go. That's what they had to do. That's all they had to do, and yet they didn't say a word. Paul had this amazing ability to see doors being opened. And just an incredible ability, this incredible vision to see doors being opened before him. So he didn't say, I'm going to complain, and this is not fair, and unhand us. No, he saw a door being opened, and he said, I'm going to see where God takes me to this thing. Me and Silas both. But before it happens, it's going to get worse. And so, starting in verse 22 of Acts 16. The crowd rose up together against them, and the chief magistrates tore their robes off of them and proceeded to order them to be beaten with rods. When they had struck them with many blows, they threw them into prison, commanding the jailer to guard them securely. And he, having received a command, threw them into the inner prison and fastened their feet in the stocks. That's what's called a kangaroo court. And it's just thrown together last second. There's no hearing, there's no order. That's the real chaos, on the spot. From our point of view, this is a tragedy. It should never happen like this. Now, the magistrates ordered that Paul and Silas be beaten. Okay, so throughout the Roman Empire, you could walk in the street and you see these guys that they call basically police force, called praetors. What they essentially did is, they see something wrong, they acted on it. And they carry on their sides. They either have like a thick wooden club, which is kind of like a predecessor to the billy club. But most commonly, they have these little rods. They're real thin, about that yay long. There's a bundle of them bound together at the very bottom. They stuck it right here in their side. In the middle of those rods, they had a small axe. And that axe the top of it was seen, so you knew what they were going to use that for. That was for when they wanted to kill somebody on the spot, and they could. If something was offensive enough to them, they could take it right in their hands and slaughter someone. In front of the crowd, didn't matter. But for typical punishment, they would remove the axe and have the bundle of rods, you could bend them, and they just wail on you. Just absolutely wail on you. And they wanted a crowd. They wanted people to see. This is what happens when you mess with Rome. The police force on every corner, at any given second, don't like what you're doing, you're going to get a beating. And listen, let me tell you right now, they were experts. They were experts in beating, in death, in torture, in misery. They knew what they were doing. And so when you see this, they're beaten and thrown in stocks. It's not just a light little, okay, you're done, now go to jail. They're beaten. And they're beaten hard. There's an example to be made for Paul and Silas. Very, very strong treatment. This is not a casual beating. Don't think about a modern prison. These prisons were disgusting. They were filthy. You were thrown into the middle of a dark, dungy prison. You know where you went to the bathroom? Right there. You picked your corner, and you stayed in it. There wasn't rags given out so you could clean up. No, you stayed in your filth. Disgusting conditions in these prisons. This is a rough experience for Paul and Silas. Don't understand, or don't misinterpret and understand this is not just kind of a light beating. This is a very serious beating they went through. Very, very strong beating. This is the stocks that they were put in. I'm just trying to give you an understanding of what exactly this looked like. When we think about stocks today, we think about maybe like 2 holes for our arms and maybe 2 holes for our leg. You can kind of move, right? It's not handcuffs with freedom. The stocks that they were given in this day had multiple holes. They were boards long boards with lots of holes in them. And the key to it was this: if you were a Roman and you were in a real nice mood and you didn't think that the offense was too bad, you put them in the holes that were closest to each other. If you thought what they did was real bad, you put their legs in the holes that were far, far away from each other. Now, I can do this for 30 seconds. This isn't too bad. I'm already kind of feeling the burn. You can do this for a minute or two. Imagine this for hours. Hours. These people will be put in these kind of stocks for hours. And first, you just kind of go numb. Then it starts shooting pain. Then it starts aching and throbbing. Before you know it, it's torture. It's absolute torture. This is not a pleasant experience. And yet, Paul saw the opportunity. From long ago, saw the opportunity being presented to him. It's just the cost. This is the cost. This is what we have to reconcile. This is the cost of following Christ. We don't know where he will take us. We might not experience this exact thing that Paul and Silas experienced. But this is what happens. To say, Christ, God, whatever you want. Whatever you want. You abandon the comforts of the world and experience the comfort of Christ and only he can give. And sometimes that's physical pain. Sometimes that's hurt. Let's move along. Our time is ticking quickly. Starting in verse 25, I'm going to read down to verse 30. But about midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns of praise to God, and the prisoners were listening to them. And suddenly there came a great earthquake, so the foundations of the prison house were shaken. And immediately all the doors were opened, and everyone's chains were unfastened. When the jailer awoke and saw the prison doors open, he drew his sword and was about to kill himself, supposing that the prisoners had escaped. But Paul cried out with a loud voice, saying, "Do not harm yourself, for we are all here." And he had called for lights and rushed in. And trembling with fear, he fell down before Paul and Silas. And after he brought them out, he said, "Sirs, What must I do to be saved? My goodness. I heard that amen. I just want to close right there. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. You heard everything we just said, right? Everything that I just explained. Everything I just said they went through. And then you read verse 30. Sirs, what must I do to be saved? That just brings a brightness out. That brings me a joy. That's beautiful. You can't ask for more. You know the single greatest question you'll hear from unbelievers is? That right there. What must I do to be saved? What an opportunity. What a gift to be able to share the work of Christ with those who ask, what must I do to be saved? I love the fact that they're going through all this stuff. And what is Paul, what are they doing? They're singing praises. They're singing hymns. And it doesn't say the prisoners are joining in and they're all immediately saying, well, they're listening. This is why I said, in places like Algeria, that I would want there to be an audience. You know why? Because they're going to have to come face to face with the Christian faith. Unbelievers are going to have to come face to face with a faith that they go, wow, my goodness. These prisoners did the same thing. Locked up in there with them. They know the beating, they know the stocks, they know the torture, and yet they're saying, listen to them. Listen to their joy, listen to their praise. How can they worship in this kind of environment? And yet, they are. They have something I want. I want whatever that is. I'll buy that. That's good stuff. Our attitude, it does so much for our witness and our testimony to have this joy in Christ that nothing can extinguish. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Verse 27, again, when the jailer awoke, it's kind of hard to sleep with an earthquake. When he awoke, he went to the prison house, and everyone's chains are unfastened, doors are open, and yet they're all there. I mean, that's the other crazy part. The prisoners would have got nothing left, and yet they're standing. They can't run away from what Paul and Silas are doing. Well, the jailer doesn't see that immediately. He runs in, he sees, okay, they're all gone. He doesn't go in and look in the cells. He just sees the doors open and he says, they're gone. I've lost them all. Now listen, when you had a job for wrong, you took it very, very seriously. When you messed up, guess what happened to you? You experienced very serious punishment. And this jailer, who was probably a retired military man himself, it's kind of the kind of job you did when you were retired. You ran the jails. This man is looking at his environment and he's seeing all that he lives for every day, day in, day out, working for the Roman Empire, his job, and he has failed. And so he draws his sword and says, I'll end it right here. Number one, I have nothing left to live for because I've been a failure to myself. Number two, they're going to kill me anyways. They're going to kill me anyways. I might as well just end this right here, right now. Think back to Lydia now. I want you to think back to this one of the last two. Think back to Lydia. What do we call her? We said she's a seeker. She had experienced some truth, and now she's seeking. She's thirsty. I need answers. I need to know. I'm not going to go into story time, but we can do it. We can do some raising of hands, and you'll see how different it is in the crowd. I hope this works. If you're one of these people who were raised in church, and you had parents that taught you, and so you were opened up to this Christian faith early on, and you really didn't have any of those moments where you kind of just, your life was over, you just were kind of always in it, and then you were saved, would you raise your hand if you had that kind of experience? There's a lot. Was anyone else have a different story where you were brought low? I mean low. You were crushed. Does anyone have a testimony, and you don't just raise your hand? Does anyone have a testimony where you were absolutely crushed to nothingness and you said, this life is over? You were brought that low, and God said, hang on, I'm reaching down for you. Anyone else have something like that? That's me. Mike raised his hand too. That's part of mine. When you see there's nothing else to live for, it's game over. It's done. God will do that. God will do this. He will bring people as low as possible to where life seems so barren. I mean, you're just underneath the ground. You have nothing else to live for. And he'll say, I've got a very strong grip in here, and I've got you. Some people need that. Some people are thirsty because they've been around it. Look, I've been raised in church. I was around it, but I had a moment. I say a moment. I had years. I hated God. And it took that snap, that wake-up call to say, your life is pointless without me. I had to experience that. Not everyone does. God will use these situations. This Roman jailer, remember, this is God not looking to the future. He's saying, this is my will. I'm going to do this all together at once. I'm going to send them here. I'm going to put all those things beforehand to get them to Philippi, to get to Lydia, to get to the slave girl, to get to the Roman jailer. I'll take the woman who's been thirsty and been looking for many years. And I'll take the man who's going to have a sword pushed into his own stomach, ready to kill himself at any moment. I'll take both of them. Very different situations. I'll take them both. They're both my children. I'll do it any way I please. There's people that are going to be a part of your life. Neighbors who are going to be a part of our lives. That at times is going to be very inconvenient for us. Very inconvenient for us. To the point that people are going to say, I have nothing left to live for. And you're going to wonder, why is God using me in this way? And why is God these things that happen? And then it's going to smack you. And you're going to say, I've been a part of their story. He's been using me to reach them. They were at the brink of death. They were hoping to die. You're going to be used in these ways. We're going to be used in these ways. And we are obedient to Him and say, however, whatever you want, use us. To have that kind of openness to His call. We've got to have a vision, again, like Paul, like Silas, to say, whatever the cost, we will pay it. Just use us however you wish. I hate that we have 4 minutes left. We'll probably do like usual when I don't have enough time. I'll probably just catch up tonight and push off Revelation 2 for the next time. I want to end here. This is probably a good stopping point. There's a lot left to go. We'll cover that. So I guess I'm going to call it audible and then end right there. I'm going to pray, and we'll sing. And if I could just have like maybe a minute or two. That's it. Won't leave all alone. We'll pray. We'll sing our closing hymn. And just have a moment, and then we'll be dismissed. And we'll go from there. And I hope, would love, please come tonight. We'd love to spend more time in His Word together in fellowship. So let's make a point. Let's come together tonight again. And continue to go through Acts 16. Let's close with that.